Have you ever imagined a conversation so vividly that your body reacted to it like it was real? Maybe you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. and suddenly your mind creates an entire scene. You're finally telling someone how they hurt you. You're winning an argument that never actually happened. You're imagining your future success. People finally noticing your value, finally understanding you. And for a moment, it feels real. Your heart beats faster. Your emotions change. You feel angry, relieved, excited, anxious, all because of something that exists only inside your mind. But why does this happen? Why do some people spend hours inside imaginary conversations and fake scenarios? Well, psychology has an answer for that. And once you understand it, you'll realize this habit is not random at all. Because most people who constantly imagine fake scenarios are not crazy or dramatic. They're mentally surviving something. Let's explain. Your brain has a system called mental simulation. Basically, before anything happens in real life, your brain likes to rehearse possibilities in advance. This is actually normal. Athletes visualize winning before competitions. Public speakers mentally practice speeches. Your brain naturally predicts situations to help you prepare. But for some people, this system becomes overactive. And suddenly, your imagination stops being a tool and becomes a second reality. You start replaying conversations after they happen. Except this time, in your imagination, you say the perfect thing, the perfect comeback, the perfect explanation, the perfect response you couldn't think of in the moment. Sometimes you imagine future success. You imagine becoming successful, respected, admired. People finally regret underestimating you. Other times, your brain creates disaster scenarios. What if they secretly hate me? What if I embarrass myself? What if everything goes wrong? And here's the scary part. Your brain reacts to imagined situations almost the same way it reacts to real ones. That's why fake scenarios can trigger real anxiety, real sadness, real excitement, because emotionally, your nervous system doesn't fully separate imagination from reality. But here's where it gets deeper. People who constantly imagine scenarios usually share one hidden trait. They spend a lot of time emotionally processing things alone. Instead of expressing emotions immediately, they replay them internally, again, and again, and again. Psychologists often notice this pattern in people who are highly self-aware, emotionally sensitive, socially anxious, lonely, or emotionally neglected growing up. Because when someone feels misunderstood in real life, their mind starts creating worlds where they finally feel understood. And honestly, sometimes imagination feels safer than reality. In your imagination, nobody interrupts you. Nobody rejects you. Nobody misunderstands you. Everything unfolds exactly the way you want. Real life doesn't work like that. And that's why imaginary scenarios can quietly become addictive. Not because you're lazy, not because you're attention-seeking, but because your brain starts preferring predictable fantasy over unpredictable reality. Think about it. In real conversations, people are messy. Things don't go as planned. You don't always say the right thing. But inside your head, you control everything. And control feels comforting to an anxious brain. This is why overthinkers often create fake arguments. Why lonely people imagine perfect relationships. Why insecure people imagine future success constantly. And why emotionally overwhelmed people disappear into fantasy for hours without even noticing. Your imagination becomes emotional compensation. A temporary escape from uncertainty, rejection, stress, or loneliness. But here's the important part. Imagination itself is not the enemy. In fact, imagination is one of the most powerful abilities humans have. Creates art, innovation, dreams, goals. The problem only starts when imagination replaces action. Because mentally living a moment is not the same as actually living it. You can imagine confidence forever, but eventually you still have to speak. You can imagine success forever, but eventually you still have to act. You can imagine relationships forever, but eventually you still have to risk being understood by a real person. And that's terrifying, because reality has uncertainty. But reality is also where growth happens. not inside simulations, inside action. So if you constantly imagine fake scenarios, don't immediately assume something is wrong with you. Sometimes it simply means your brain is overloaded with thoughts, emotions, possibilities, and unresolved feelings. You're mentally rehearsing life because part of you is trying to feel prepared, trying to feel safe, trying to feel understood. The key is learning the difference between healthy imagination and emotional escape, because your mind can create beautiful stories, but your real life will always be more important than the imaginary version inside your head. And maybe the conversation you're rehearsing in your mind right now is one you finally need to have in real life.